Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Gotham Sports Machine. I'm your host, Jack Healey, joined today by my co-host, as always, Mark Healey. And we had a really good day in New York sports yesterday. How are
We
you feeling
did.
about that?
I'm feeling pretty good. Obviously, the Knicks, obliterating the Sixers last night is a bigger story, but it is nice to see that the Mets, at least have started to play well over the last four games, winning three of four. Tonight's game's postponed because of snow, so they're going to play tomorrow night and Thursday, I believe at 3:15. I think that's how they're going to do that. So hopefully they get out of Colorado with a series win. And then you could start chipping away at this, miserable start and get back into some kind of contention for a playoff spot. We're far away from that. Obviously, it's about, just getting back to 500 as the first goal. But you can't look ahead, because every game, every team they're supposed to beat, they've struggled against. So hopefully guys are starting to find, their stroke. The pitching's been a little bit better of late. So let's see where it goes. But obviously, the big story is the Knicks last night, right?
Yeah, the Mets just like that was the first night I could watch the Mets and the Knicks in a row and like be happy. I couldn't
Right.
remember the last time that's happened.
It's been a while. It's been
The
a
Mets have
while.
been unwatchable. You said the first goal was to get to five. No, the first goal for the Mets was playing watchable baseball.
Right. You're
Was
right.
playing like they couldn't even do the fundamentals. It was disgusting. They couldn't hit, they couldn't pitch. It was like every other night you were seeing a triple A team.
Yeah.
But let's move on to the team that looks great.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Knicks who have, last night absolutely steamrolled Philly. They're firing on all cylinders right now. Mike Brown's he really has settled in and he's making the right rotations. It looked a little, he was making some hockey rotations again in the first quarter last night. He's like subbing guys in for 30 seconds. But outside of that, they said like you put Brunson against Philly and it's just like nobody's there. He hits everything. Cuts to the defense like a hot like the hot butter through white knife, and it's just you love to see it. You love to see this New York team cooking like this, and you hope that they can bring it back this next game for game two.
Yeah, they definitely have to avoid, what happened with Atlanta in the first round, losing that first game. They can't get complacent. They have to look, it's hard. The NBA playoffs with every round being seven games, with the travel and the wear and tear and there's so much effort that goes into every quarter of every game. The last thing you want to see is they become complacent. And I don't think they will be. I think that was a good lesson. Those two straight losses that the Knicks had in the first round against Atlanta, those last second losses. I think that their heads certainly that like they just imposed their will on that game last night with all of that, Embiid flipping and flopping around. And it's so infuriating to see a great player like him resort to such ridiculous foolishness. I mean, it definitely didn't help them. I mean, there were moments, I guess, in the first quarter where, it kind of worked, I guess, with the hack a bitch, but it just, the Knicks just, imposed their will, like I said, and it really was nice to see. OG is really playing well. I mean, he's really like, I mean, Jalen's fantastic, but when OG is playing like that, Knicks are hard to beat, right?
Yep. The biggest difference in this series and the beginning of this series and the beginning of last series is the Knicks were letting McCollum get going, and they really let nobody get going last night, and they need to continue that. They just keep suffocating them on defense. Maxey didn't have a made field goal till like late first quarter, early second quarter. They weren't letting him do anything. The only points they really got, Philly, was on free throws, and most of it was bogus calls, and some of it was flops. So I really like how this Knicks defense is playing, even though the offense has been out of this world.
Right.
The two straight halves of 70 points. No team has ever done that in the playoffs. I mean, everybody's scoring now too. Bridges is finally woken up. He's in a rhythm. And if you have all five guys on offense playing like this,
Yep.
between like they have one of the best starting units in basketball, and you two-way, they have one of the best starting units in basketball. So if they're suffocating you and they're hitting all their shots, I mean, there's not a team in this league other than the Thunder that I can see like consistently keeping up with them.
How did the Sixers beat the Celtics? I mean, especially with the Celtics up 3-1. I mean, look, I know that the Celtics. I know that the Sixers aren't going to play, game two as poorly as they played game one. I mean, I hope they do. But how did that team beat the Celtics?
I mean, the Celtics were frauds. I said it all year. I never was scared of them. They looked a little better with Tatum, but even with him back, like in a playoff setting, you knew like he wasn't going to be able to. And if he did push himself to that level he's always been at, he was probably going to get hurt again, coming off an Achilles. Like it was going to have to be Jaylen Brown playing hero ball like he has all year, and he was great this year. He's an MVP candidate, but to do it for 82 games and then the playoffs, it's a different story, especially against a team like Philly, who's always been hunting for Boston, who's always wanted to beat Boston in the playoffs, especially recently. And they got almost a blessing in disguise with Embiid coming back. Like yes, he missed games, and yes, he was hurt, but he wasn't really hurt. It was appendicitis.
Right.
So like it was really just surgery recovery. And yes, he like we saw that it does still affect him. Like he was a little beat up last night, and he was beat up during the Celtics series, but they had nobody to stop him. The guys that they were throwing at him were Nikola Vucevic, who's like 35 years old, who's never been a defender. Neemias Queta, who's like 185 pounds, soaking wet. Like the guys that they were throwing at him were a bunch of guys they could not handle Embiid. They had no business being down low with Embiid. But the Knicks have two guys in Cat and I mean, he's not the best defender, but he's a big body, and he's always been able to hang down there with Embiid, even though Embiid's gotten the best of him sometimes. But then you got Mitchell Robinson, who's gotten the better of Embiid most of the time, and he's one of the best defensive centers in basketball, and he's always gonna have his number, especially after the playoffs 2 years ago when Embiid started grabbing at his leg and got him hurt. A little bit of a revenge series for Mitch,
Yeah.
and it's a revenge series for Towns. There's always been bad blood there.
Right.
When you got bad blood in the paint, it's gonna be a good show. I mean, we've already seen the chirping. We've seen a lot, well, these both benches going after it. Even late in the game, you had Kolek
Yeah.
hitting threes and pointed at Philly's bench, which was awesome. I mean, this is how the series is gonna be. The Knicks fans were coming after all the Philly fans after the game.
Yep.
Like, you love to see it. I mean, we
Oh,
gotta
you
keep
do
this
love to
up.
see it. You love to see it. I mean, Philly, oh God, I hate all their teams. I always have. I mean, when Dr. J was in Philly, I kind of rooted for him a little, because I always rooted for him. But I never want to see Philadelphia do well in anything, except maybe when Rocky is fighting and Dr. J, that's it. I hate the Flyers, I hate the Phillies, I hate, I certainly hate the Sixers. And I mean, it's just one of those things where and the Eagles, can't stand the Eagles either. So it's like one of those things where, it's always good to see Philly suffer. It's always good to see that, their sports teams get demolished. And look, what is there to say? But again, even when the Knicks are up by 20, 25, 30 points, you and I have seen enough games in our lives. I've certainly seen a few more than you. I I don't get comfortable until that final buzzer, man. I don't. I can't because it's too stressful.
Yes and no. These last two Nick games, I mean, when you're up by 40, 50 points,
Yeah, I
that's
know.
when you can start relaxing.
I guess. Not me though. Not me.
When I start seeing guys like Pacome Daddier check into the game with no business being in a playoff game, I could definitely start to ease up.
Well, look, let's look at game two. Obviously, back at the Garden. Obviously, you want the team to, avoid what happened in game two, last round. Look, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, I guess anything can happen. But I don't see this team. I don't see this Knicks team uh, getting getting cocky. to the point where they're going to take game two lightly, that they're not going to want to come out and continue to make a statement saying there's like, you're not going to beat us. Do you agree with that? Like, do you think they're going to come out strong
Yeah.
in game two and just like try to erase any kind of hope or dreams that Philly's going to be in this series at all?
Yeah, I mean, Philly also just they went 7 games with Boston. Like they have to be
Right.
tired, and they
Yep.
run a 6-man rotation. They aren't a deep team. He's running these guys into the ground almost. Nick Nurse, like that game seven, he had Embiid played like 39 minutes. He's not going to be able to consistently do that. He's just not as good as he's been playing. He's just you can't sustain that. He's never been able to sustain that over his career ever. So what makes you think he's gonna be able to do it now against a physical Knicks team? It's just not gonna happen.
So you're sticking by your original. What are you?
I mean, the
Knicks
Philly
and
will have a game. They will have a
yeah.
game that I think honestly at this point this could be a sweep unless Philly has that game where they just don't miss.
Now, what'd you say? Knicks and six? Was that
I said
your
Knicks in 6 at
prediction?
first,
Yeah.
and maybe Philly. Like I do expect them to play better, but I mean the one thing that's been holding the Knicks back this whole time is the Knicks. It's been Mike Brown being like all whatever about the utilization of this team. I mean, he's like, it seemed like we were in a spot before the playoffs where he was comfortable and he knew what he was doing and he knew like, this is my rotation. This is how we're gonna play basketball.
Right.
And then 4 games in, you were down. Well, 3 games in, you were down 2-1 to the Hawks, and it was just like everything changed. You weren't playing through Cat. Brunson was dribbling the air out of the ball, and it was just like we reverted back to everything that was terrible about our team 2, 3 years ago. And now, fast forward a week, we're playing the best basketball we've seen them play ever. And they're blowing teams out in the playoffs. And it looks great. I mean, granted, they were playing the 6 and the 7 seed. They haven't played the top teams in the East yet. They haven't played Cleveland. They haven't played, and then Detroit. That's going to be a really good series. And whoever comes out of there they're going to be a really tough opponent.
Yep.
But you have to worry about Philly first. You have to get through this series. You have to take care of business. And if Brunson sees that Philly logo, he plays in that, and we're not even in Philly yet. We're gonna get to Philly, and he's probably still gonna average 40. So unless they
Yeah.
start,
Those Villanova guys, they're not intimidated by Philly at all.
yeah, they're not
Not at
messing
all.
around either.
No. No. I think you're right. I mean, look, I have confidence they're going to get past Philly. And you're right. Whoever comes out of the other semifinal, whether it's Detroit, whether it's Cleveland, both of those teams are really good teams, and they're deep teams. But you got to hope that you hope that series goes seven, and they beat each other up, in the process, and the Knicks can take care of this in 5 or 6 games and get out relatively healthy, and really have an Eastern Conference semifinal, Eastern Conference final that is, special. That's what you want. That's what you want. You want to get there, and
And you
hopefully
well, you want to
NBA guys.
get there, and you want to like not have a historic collapse in game one.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing. Like they got there, and it was like almost instantly you were demoralized to the point where it was like, oh, the season's done.
right.
So
Well, look, I mean, sometimes you have to go through those kinds of losses, and then and understand and comprehend and feel like how it felt. And great teams. If this Knicks team is going to be a great team, the great teams are the ones that take that. I always go back to when the Giants lost to the '85 Bears, and they were embarrassed that it was freezing cold, and like they took that defeat, that sobering defeat. Phil Simms, Lawrence Taylor, all those guys, and then the next year they were the best team in football and won the '86. And they won the '86 Super Bowl. I think about those things. I think about great teams. They have those. They stumble, they fall, but then they learn from it, and then they use it to get to that next level. So let's see. Like maybe the Knicks. I think we'll learn a lot about this team after Game Two. I really do. I think Game Two is going to be really important for the Knicks to really send that message.
Yeah, looking forward to it on Wednesday.
Yep.
Yeah. And so we'll move on to the Mets now. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before. They finally started to play some baseball. It's worth
Yep.
watching,
Yep.
worth
Yep.
sitting down and like, oh wow, maybe this team could actually win a game or two. And do you think it's the weather? Do you think the weather is starting to get warmer? The bats are starting to wake up. I mean, I feel like that's always it's a poor excuse. It's not a good excuse. You get paid millions of dollars to play this game. You should be like, oh, I'm cold. Like that was an excuse for me when I was 9 years old in Little League. Like I think it does play a factor though. You can't like just dismiss the fact that the ball travels better in warmer weather. And like you feel better when you play in warmer weather. Pitchers feel better, hitters feel better, everybody feels better. So you think that the fact that it's getting a little warmer, I mean, yeah, they're playing in Denver right now. That's not really a factor there. But I mean, the bats have been more viable, especially Vientos. You think that's going to play a factor coming into these next few weeks?
I think that they're making adjustments. I do think that look, the pitchers are always look, there's a lot of baseball cliches that are true, and that's why they're cliches. The pitchers are always ahead of the hitters every season. Now there's reasons for that. The weather's part of it. Pitchers sometimes work on more stuff than hitters do. Sometimes hitters just want to get in the box and swing away. I think a lot of what Keith Hernandez talked about last night, thank God he's back. I think a lot about what he talked about last night when he, broke down Carson Bench and how they closed his stance and how he's standing closer to the plate and all those different statistics that they use. And he even said it. I don't like to use the word metrics, but that's what they were. It just shows you that inch of difference for plate coverage, that inch of difference in the bat speed, all those little different things, all those little adjustments that Carson Bench made has certainly helped him. I don't know what adjustments Mark DeVientos. They didn't do a breakdown on his batting stance, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have the answer to that. But what I will tell you is that these guys, these today's players, a lot of them are streaky, and the bad streaks they're terrible, and the good streaks they're hot. I certainly hope. I think the difference. What I saw yesterday, I saw Vientos get, thought he hit two bombs, and the outfielder just, catch them. And people are saying, oh, he got robbed. No, the wind robbed you. The Rockies didn't rob Vientos. It's not like they went over the fence to catch his two fly balls. I mean, he hit the ball hard, he hit it high, but it wasn't gone. It went, the first one, he was on the warning. His foot was on the warning track. It wasn't like he'd get a bang against the wall to catch it. But what I love to see is that Vientos wasn't swinging for the fences the rest of the game. Like when he had that at bat where he drove in the 2 runs, that was a solidly struck ball that you don't hit that ball that way if you're looking to swing for a home run. That was huge for me to see Vientos make that adjustment in game. So that gives me hope. Marcus Semien is still lost. I know he had a couple of games here and there where he drove in some runs, but you can't. I mean, his OPS and Brett Beatty's OPS are the same. I think maybe there's like a 10 or 15 point difference between the two of them. And, for me, like to justify the Marcus Semien playing every day, I mean, I know he's a good defensive player, but people talk about him like he's this elite player defensively, which A, I haven't seen yet, and B, I still don't understand why. Look,
You play second base, who cares?
who cares? Exactly. I mean, Brett Beatty played second base last year and was fine. And I think his OPS was about 150 points higher than Marcus Simeon's is. But again,
Yeah, well, look at Jeff McNeil right now. Jeff
I
McNeil's
know,
hitting 300.
I know. I just I'm rooting for Marcus Semien to do well. I am. I just don't see it. Offensively, he looks lost. I'm sorry.
Well,
And I know Brett
it's not
Beatty.
even that. He just looks washed. I
Yeah.
mean, if you look at it, like, and he has. It's not like this is this new development where he was this MVP player last year, and it's like, oh, he came to New York and he stinks now. He wasn't good last year, and he wasn't even good the year before.
No, he wasn't. He was
It
not.
just, it
But
really
people are
just
going to
it
defend the
hurts my
trade.
brain.
They're
It
going to
hurts my
defend
brain.
they're going to defend the trade. They're going to defend it, and then they're going to talk about the contract. I, you know,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
me, I still, look, people are going to kill us because, oh, he's your favorite player. Get over it. But I, no, I'm
If
not
you
going to
look
get
at
over it.
Brandon Nimmo's prime years and people call him overrated, it's like the guy was one of the best outfielders in baseball. Was he the last 3 years as a Met? Probably not. His last really good year was probably 22. And 23, he was good too. But 24 and 25, he wasn't that good. And his down years were still better than whatever garbage we're getting this year.
You're right.
And it was our guy. He was Mr. Him and Alonso were as close to of a Mr. Met kind of guy that you can get. They're the closest, like true Mets we've had since David Wright. And you shipped them off for nothing. For a washed up second baseman, and now we got 9 different first basemen playing. And I want to root for Vientos, and I hope Vientos becomes that first baseman, but he's a doofus at the bag. He makes Pete Alonso look like a Gold Glove first baseman, and he's
You're not
no means a
wrong.
Gold Glove first baseman.
You're not
I mean,
wrong.
half the plays he made him play last night, where he went right line drive right at him, boom, right off him. Thankfully, he had drove in the runs, and he was hitting, so nobody talks about that. But it's just like,
Well, you know what it is. People just believe people are either fire David Stearns, which is not going to happen, or they're like, oh, well, he has a plan, a process. Look, at the end of the day, it's all about results. And yes, they've won 3 of 4, but the results this season have been terrible. And that's what you judge. That's what you judge. A GM, a president of baseball operations, a front office. That's what you judge them on, the results. At the end of the day, if you don't win 90 games, if you're not in the playoffs, you failed. You did not do your job. And you spent 375 million doing a bad job. I still don't think David Stearns will get fired after this season if that happens. But his leash has certainly tightened to the point where perhaps Steve Cohen says, all right, David Stearns, we've tried it your way. I'm not giving you any more money, and you're going to hire a real manager.
but
Maybe
is it?
that's the end result.
We've tightened his leash, but like, does Steve Cohen really care that much? Like, we're putting this pressure on Stearns. We're coming after him every
Right.
day. But is he really like that
I think
upset like we are?
I think he is at the end of the season when people stop going. But people have already stopped going. People have
Mhm.
already stopped going to City Field. You know, I think that he goes from having a great year last year, attendance wise. If attendance drips by if attendance drops, 1.3 million, which it possibly could if they're playing, if they're 15 games under 500, 20 games under 500 by Memorial Day, yeah, I think he's going to care. I do. I do think he's going to care, but we'll see. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
mean, the worst of it all is that the Braves are playing the best baseball that they've played in years.
the
So
best
it's
record
like,
in baseball.
yeah. So it's like, even if the Mets get it together and they start playing 500 baseball, they could still be 15 games under or 15 games back
Right.
in the division. So then it's like they're basically gonna have to fight all year just for a wild card spot.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have a historically bad April.
Yeah.
Look, it's been done before. People keep talking about the Nationals. Look, there's been plenty of teams that finished the first half, 10 games under 500 and found a way to get into the
Yeah,
playoffs.
and but look at those teams. Yeah, I was comparing them to Nationals. Look at that Nationals team. That Nationals team was ridiculously loaded.
Yep, they were. They were. But again, I look at it this year. Like, for instance, you look at the American League, right? The Yankees have the best record in the American League. Um, the Rays are about, what are they, 1.5 out? The Rays have been
Yeah, they're
playing
right
out of
behind
their
them.
minds, right? Is the AL just that bad? Are the
I mean,
Yankees this
they
good, or
have.
is the AL this bad?
I don't think. I think they always start off slow. I feel like if you look at the standings, every first half it's like the Yankees and everybody else, and then there's maybe a team or two hanging with them. But when it shakes out at the end of the year, there's always another two, three teams that emerge that you're like, oh, okay,
Right.
that team. And I think the Astros, they always play better down the stretch. These past 2, 3 years, they started off slow. I mean, last year, I think they were like 14, 15 games out of first place. It was
Right.
something ridiculous, and they came back and took the division.
Right.
So I'm not really worried about them. The Mariners, they haven't really been hitting. I think they'll put it together. The Guardians, I think they'll be better. But even then, it's like it's a bunch of teams that the Yankees usually handle. So am I really,
I'm
is there
looking at
really
the
a
I'm
like a
looking at
some
the yeah, I'm looking at the standings now, right? So the Tigers are at 500 in first place, tied with the Guardians. They'll fight it out all year, right? They'll
yep.
those two teams will fight it out all year. The White Sox are 17 and 18. They're
Yeah,
only a
that's not
half
real.
game back. Like that's not going to last. You got the
The
Athletics.
Athletics are good too, which
Yeah,
is like,
they're leading the West, two games
yeah.
over the Mariners. The Rangers are right there. They're two games back, 16 and 18.
Yeah, they haven't
Uh,
really been
so
since the
you
World
got
Series. Like it's a bunch of teams that have been super streaky. So it's like,
right.
but then the Yankees, like I think they're the same thing every year to me. They're good enough, but there's always a team I'm like, if you go up against them, what's gonna happen? Like the Dodgers right now, like I just don't see them beating the Dodgers. They could get to the World Series and it's all fun and games. Haha, we're a great team. We don't win 100 games and we could sweep our way to the World Series. But I just don't see them beating the Dodgers. I don't. I don't see anybody beating them.
I don't see anybody beating the Dodgers, but look,
It's
baseball's
baseball. Yeah,
it's a
baseball's
long
baseball.
season. Anything can happen, and you and I are going to watch every game, and that's the way it is. I mean, I'm not giving up on this team. I'm not giving up on the season. I realistically
Eh,
not sure where it's going, but if they're a losing team in August, I'm still going to be watching. So I know you
yeah, I'll
will
still
be
be
too.
watching. I don't know if I had to, I don't know if I'll
Oh
like give
boy.
up by then.
All right, kid. Good show. What anything else that did we want to talk about
I guess
anything else?
just Volpe. I mean, but
Oh, that's
same thing
right.
always with
Volpe,
him.
Volpe.
Volpe's. I mean, they sent him down. It's good for him, but now it's he comes up and he stinks. He's gone. Like it was kind of like that anyway. If he came back, but like if they came back and he was with the majors right away and he stunk, it would have been like, oh, he's come back from injury. So like maybe he would have had that little like excuse, but
Right.
now he's gonna have a little bit in the minors. So when he comes up the next time, if he like that's it. That is it.
Yep.
And if he stinks in the minors, that's it too. If he stinks in the minors, you done. You cannot.
They're probably gonna trade him. I mean, they're gonna have to. They're gonna have to try to get something for him. But they may not because if if he leaves after the season, they're going to need a second baseman, and then that's where he belongs. He's not a shortstop; he belongs at second base. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to maybe when he's playing in AAA, maybe they start playing him at multiple positions and make a utility infielder of him. Maybe that happens because they still like his power. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Just he's not a major league shortstop. He's just not. You
But I
know.
mean, Caballero's not an everyday shortstop. He's playing good right now and he's
Right.
hitting. But like,
Well, they'll wait for him to go on an 0 for 14, 0 for 21 streak, and then they'll bring up Volpe and stick him in there. And
yeah, it's
you know,
it's a bad job that they went into this season. Not like you knew like this had a like it was basically like a high possibility of this happening. Volpe
right.
not be like not
Yep.
being ready and
Yep.
Caballero being streaky. Like,
Well, look, I mean, it is what it is, right?
yep.
And you and I aren't losing any sleep over it. So it is what it is. Great show, buddy.
Yep, as always. We'll see you guys next week. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere.
We
Gotham
are
Sports
everywhere.
Machine. We'll see you guys next week.
Love you,
Take
buddy.
care.